You're all set. Bring the meeting to order 7:02. Thanks for sending out the documents, Nick. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna review the minutes. We have the December 15th minutes. Does everybody have a copy? Yeah. And then we do not have the July 21 minutes, is that correct?
We have, I just couldn't find any more information.
So we have,
I don't think most of them will go
so, we may want to talk about that one, I think, before going over there. But maybe just hand out what we have, and then we can make a decision about them and the condition of them.
Do you want to have this, Peter?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Good.
So, I would recommend that we do what we can with the minutes of December 15th first, if the board do that. All set? So what edits, comments on the minutes from December 15th might be out there?
There's a typo. Leo replied with yes. Also said that he was going to put truss, TRUSS,
Where's this?
on the garage.
So, new business,
Yes.
number 1, 2, second paragraph.
Trust.
Trusses.
Trusses,
So,
TRUSS.
TRUSS.
Minor typo, not that I care, but got Rickard instead of Richard up on the people who were here. That's no problem on my part. If you go to the third paragraph, somebody in fact asked if he would use crushed stone rather than gutters, but I don't think it was me. I don't recall having said that, but somebody did.
Yeah.
Um,
I can go back to the audio.
Okay. And maybe you'll find that you were right, but I just don't remember how to say it. And the last thing I had was that same paragraph. My suggestion, I suggest that we say the board asked him to state in writing on the application that he would not increase the height of the building. When I read it, I could see where somebody might think that he was asked to put on the application that he would not increase the height of the building and the sign. And it's like, there's no sign there, but I know what Nick was trying to do, he was telling him to sign it. But somebody not being there might think that there was a sign and a building involved, so.
So just inside that.
Yeah, sign it or something, whatever, yeah. That was it for me.
Under present other attendees, I think it might be good to identify Gary Mahler as a selectman, just like we identified Gary as being CEO, so comma selectman. Then under number 1, Barnett's application, the last sentence, George made a motion to approve the application. I had also had a condition on that motion. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of, upon the condition of implementation of a DEP best management practice for stormwater management. Want me to read that again, Nick?
No, you're good.
Okay. The very next line in number 2, it was a public hearing versus a meeting, which are legally different.
Mhm.
And then on the next page, I think this is the best place to, I think this is where it came up, or it was, so next page would be 1, 2, 3, start of the 4th paragraph, which starts, George then stated, you may recall the discussion, Mr. Lassard stated that he didn't want Route 27 to look like Route 2 between Farmington and Wilton. And I think that seems to be an important point, and I think it was part of the discussion. Well, I think probably the best place to put it would be after the second line of that in the second line of that paragraph, after it talks about Farmington or Augusta.
Okay.
So, I had Mr. Lassard stated he didn't want Route 27 to look like Route 2 between Farmington and Wilton. That's all I had.
For me, first of all, thank you very much. Second, I think you had a good form with, identifying board members being present, who they were, and other attendees. So we're working towards a much better presentation of information, so thank you. Under 1, name or location, map, purpose, reason, it just says non-conforming and then shoreline. I think we should clarify, it's a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, is that the best description? So we can include that, please. There's a couple of things about trusses and conditions that George talked about. On number 2, second page, I don't really have a solution for this, but I struggled with representing statements as facts. Mr. Lassard presented his opinions about, this or that, and I didn't know if anything that's said here represents his statements as facts rather than just opinion.
Mostly opinion.
What's that?
It was mostly his opinion.
It was, but I don't know that it says that here. Like, for example, second paragraph, second line, The plan mentions that it wants to avoid sprawl. He then said, if you make it too hard for people, you will have no participation in commercial growth. Then, next sentence, you won't have pharmacies and grocery stores.
So you want,
My read on that is, he feels strongly about that, but that's his opinion about whatever's going on with the comprehensive plan in relationship to whether that happens or not.
Well, one way to deal with that would be in front of you won't, just, Mr. Lassard expressed the opinion. Da-da-da-da.
And
Just
again,
to clarify that, you know, he's not presenting facts, he's just presenting his opinion.
that would work for me. That's all I had. Anything else from anybody?
Nothing.
Entertain a motion.
And make a motion to approve the minutes of December 15th, 2016, as amended.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on that? All those in favor? Thanks. Relative to the minutes of July 21st, 2016, we have minutes which we've reviewed one other time previously, and there were some concerns that what we had written was not complete relative to the entire meeting that we discussed before. Therefore, I asked Nick to see if we could dig into other records to further elaborate what was going on. Thank you for looking into that, and contacting the police employee to find out other ways to do so. In the end, we have no additional information, so we are left with what we have before us. I guess I would open this up for discussion about the best way to go forward with what we have.
Refresh my memory, the agenda for this meeting, was it just Dollar General?
Oh, at the time of the 21st?
Yes.
That was my memory.
Okay.
Uh,
Did you come across the agenda for that meeting?
I'm sure it's on there, I can probably find that easily.
I only ask because, at least for me, speaking for myself, it would help me recall, and then maybe we could, you know, we wouldn't be able to obviously accomplish what we would have been able to accomplish if we'd been able to find the recording. But, you know, we could at least maybe document some of the important points, you know, like, for example, that at the end of the meeting, that Dollar General's consultants withdrew their application.
That was an important point.
Yeah, I would think. So, if we capture nothing else than that, and maybe, I mean, if we can't fill in much else, maybe the most forthright thing to do is to say that the recording's been lost, and some of the details of that meeting have been consequently, we can't recall, or this may be incomplete. I think maybe to be honest about it.
Well, I think we have to own what has happened, you know, and document it. And, you know, I guess it's possible someone might think, heck, they're stored over here in this drawer or something, you know, so documenting that until such time that they are found, we've reached a conclusion that we have no additional information, or what we have thought we had cannot be found. Any other salient points that we can document based on memory, like the withdrawal of the application, should be noted.
I agree with both of you. I wasn't there, but yeah, make it clear that there's things missing, because we lost the recording.
Well,
So
apparently.
you're not
that
gonna be
was
any
the
help
only
at all.
one we covered.
Was that?
Apparently, that's not the only thing we covered, because Cat Alphon was here that night too. Now, he was here twice, right, for the work they wanted to do at,
Well, that's a good point.
Okay, so
because
we
he
had,
came one night with a proposal.
so that
and he
might have been
came
the
back-
first time we,
Yeah, so, that we had covered more than just Dollar General that night.
yeah.
So if that recording is lost someplace, we've lost quite a bit of stuff.
So maybe we also need to see the agenda and have that as part of this to figure out how much we wanna say about what we have,
Yeah.
what was lost.
If, Nick, you could find that, this would be my suggestion, Peter. If Nick could find that, email it to all of us between now and the next meeting, maybe we could all,
Yeah, I think
with the
it's worth
exception of
a try.
Rich.
I can do that.
give
It's worth a try to
some thought to what we can recall about that meeting with the help of the agenda. I totally didn't recall at all that we had that shoreline zoning application as well, for example.
So I think that's a great idea, a great direction to go, is get maybe ask you to please do some research and find the email, the agenda, and then take up these minutes at our next meeting.
Yeah. Craig wasn't here either, according to this, so.
So relative to these minutes, I guess.
The field of brains that are gonna have to recall is getting narrowed.
I know,
I think we're gonna have to put them off a little while longer.
yeah. But I think we understand the direction to go. You know, we wanna be fair and open to the taxpayers, so.
And we're gonna table it again.
Yeah, so I think we should have a motion for it.
I'll make a motion to table the minutes of July 21st, 2016.
Thank you. Any more discussion? You guys okay with this direction? You good? All right, all those in favor?
I can't vote.
Thank you very much. Next, we have you. Hi. Tanya,
Yes,
thanks for coming in tonight. We have your application in front of us.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Everybody has a package? Right? And you have a checklist here. Excellent. All right, so let's just do a couple things.
oh, no, that's fine.
Peter,
Yes.
may I make a suggestion,
Yes.
before we get going into looking over the checklist and whether the application is complete and all that? Could we take 5 minutes to discuss, why and how the ordinance applies to this? Because this is out of the ordinary in the sense that it's a non-residential use being converted to a different non-residential use.
I was wondering the same thing.
And you may recall at the last meeting when Gary just gave us a heads up about this, I questioned whether a permit was even needed. Having gone back and actually read the ordinance, I agree with Gary, but it might be helpful to document that
Okay.
and see what others think.
So under the, yeah, if we can talk about that document, about the current applicability standards under Article 3?
Yeah,
Are you thinking of? Okay. Super.
And what item in particular, to make it quick for us, pardon me?
E, the conversion of an existing non-residential use in whole or in part to another non-residential
Yeah,
use.
yeah,
Which is interesting, because it's almost more stringent for a non-residential use than it is for changing a residential use to a non-residential use. Kind of odd, but anyway.
So to be clear, this is under Article 3.
Article 3,
Section
Section 1.
Paragraph E.
Yeah, at least I think that's relevant, and that's what you're,
Clear.
And yet CEO will also agree to that.
and there's another piece to this. I gotta admit, I'm totally ignorant about this issue myself, but, so you're gonna have to fill in a lot of gaps for me.
Okay.
But, there's a number of exemptions as well, one of which is agricultural production. And I'm just not really sure, even based on what you've submitted, what all you're proposing to do at the facility down the street here. If you plan to grow plants as well as provide the
Yes,
services.
we have to grow so many plants at my place of business. So I would have to have 6 plants there.
Mm-hmm,
The rest of them I can grow at my home or someplace else that I
Okay.
find. But just for legal purposes, I have to have 6 plants there. And I already had somebody come in today, and we've got, somebody that's gonna do a air filtration system for us so that it won't smell. You're not gonna be able to see them, no one's gonna have access to them other than
Right.
myself.
And then what is the actual service that you're gonna be providing your patients?
I'm gonna be a caregiver for medical marijuana for 5 patients. I can have 5 patients.
Right.
And eventually, hopefully I can convince my husband to do 5 patients, because I already know of like 3 people that are disabled vets that I really want to help. And I'm in the process right now with the state of finding out the law of how to deliver to them, so they don't actually have to come out in the cold or to deliver their medicine to
Oh,
them.
okay, physically deliver
Yes,
to their
yes.
home.
Yeah, so they don't have to come out.
Do you provide counseling kind of thing, that kind of service as well?
To a point, only because I'm not a medical practitioner by any means. But they have their own doctor. They get their medical license, they call it, from their doctor. And then they come to me, they have a specific card from DHS.
It's like a prescription?
It's a prescription card.
You're like a pharmacy.
Yeah, basically for cannabis. I mean,
Yeah.
and you have to have that card or you don't get in.
And the law only provides you the ability to have 5 patients,
Correct.
an individual?
Correct.
How often do those 5 patients come to your facility?
It depends on the patient. I
Like,
mean,
once a month? They don't come once a day? It's
no,
all
no,
month?
once a month,
Yeah, so
possibly.
you don't have a lot of traffic?
No, no.
And that wasn't
more
even
than-
what I was trying to get
No,
at.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't either, it was gonna be a
Yeah.
question that would have been needed to be asked anyway, but,
Yeah.
the reason I'm just trying to figure out, if you were just, I guess the question in my own head for everybody else's benefit is, if you're only growing the plants there, is that considered agriculture? For example, would a greenhouse growing tomatoes, would that be agriculture?
According to the definition that I looked at
Yeah,
prior to this
but
meeting.
it sounds like you're
sounds-
providing other services
Correct, yes.
that go beyond that, and so that exemption doesn't apply.
And it's basically because I can grow marijuana, I just don't want people coming to my house
Yeah,
to get it from, it's one of
Yeah.
those, your
Yeah,
home is
no,
your home and your
that's-
business is your
that's
business,
that's understandable.
and it's the perfect location, for people that can get in and out and,
Yeah, that's a good location. Okay, that helps me. I guess, based on that, I would say, my personal opinion is that the exemption for agriculture doesn't apply in this case, and given what's in paragraph E, it certainly seems that the ordinance applies in this case.
Yeah, I would have to agree, we're looking for the exemption part, just,
It's on the next page, section 2, and under C, it says agricultural production, timber harvesting, forest management, and if you go to the definitions which are at the back,
Of agriculture.
agricultural production, or agricultural production, the production, keeping, or maintenance for sale or lease of plants and/or animals, including but not limited to forages and sod crops, grains and seed crops, dairy animals, dairy products, poultry, the usual farm stuff, livestock, fruits and vegetables, and ornamentals, and greenhouse products. It says including but not limited to. If we had some doubt about this, I was gonna suggest that we get a legal opinion, but particularly if all you were doing was raising the
No,
plants.
no.
okay.
But, their service is gonna be provided as well, and that makes this something different than somebody growing tomato seedlings for sale.
Right, if it were just the growing part, one might argue that it does meet the agricultural
Right.
part, and therefore exemptions would apply.
I'm
So
sure whether,
what's the additional service you're going to perform?
Providing medical marijuana to patients.
and delivering it
And
as well
delivering.
as
Okay.
providing the correct dosages,
Correct.
assembling it.
And I actually have a lab already set up in Manchester that's gonna test everything before I even give it,
I see,
Yep.
okay.
So it's aspect of it. Okay. I just thought we should discuss that a little bit, to be clear,
I think it's wise. Wise to do so.
because if she doesn't need a permit, then we can all go home.
You get some money back.
Yeah.
Alright, so are you all set? Any questions, Nick, about where we talked about applicability or the exemption part?
What was the second page? We had a copy page, what was that?
That was still under Article 3, but it's called Section 2 and Paragraph C. And that's under what's called uses not requiring review. So by examination of the definition of agricultural production and by talking with the applicant about what we provided, we determined that that part does not apply.
Yeah, the definitions in Article 9,
Definition of
you want to cite that?
yeah, that's good.
Does the bank, not the bank, the old bank, the
Yeah.
old property, is that a separate lot from Christie's store, or is it all on the same lot?
It's, I believe it's two separate lots, because I think it's like 42-R is the lot number.
Uh-huh, okay.
It is 42R, but it's,
Are they still the same?
I don't know. Let me look at the map.
Well, the other
'Cause I don't
map doesn't indicate, but then again, it only says 42.
Yeah, it doesn't show
Like show
42.
42A and B
Look at
or
the
whatever.
So I think he kinda had to separate it when the bank was using
I
it.
would think so, yeah.
Yeah, you can see how you've indicated, you
I
know,
tried.
42, dash R, and on the drawing or the illustration or whatever it is, you can see 42, the whole thing, but there's no.
So I didn't,
reference,
yeah.
To that specific part of the use case, which is fine, we'll work it out.
The big map just shows 42, same as the small one.
So do you think that 42R comes from more recent documents that you might have?
I got that offline. I pulled up Tony's name, and then I pulled up what he owned, and it was 42R was the lot number.
Is the other one 42L?
I think it was just 42.
Oh,
I was wondering kind of the same thing.
I know, because when I saw it, I was like,
left, right when you're facing it?
Yeah.
you guys are supposed to know this, Gary.
I can only go by what the map shows, and it doesn't show an R.
You'd think there'd be a 42 something else too
Right,
for
yeah.
the-
Right.
the
ABC.
parking area or whatever beyond the bank,
Right.
unless that's all
Oh,
parking.
yeah, what is that, I wonder?
It's all shown as one on this
Yeah,
map.
no,
It's
We should-
long with a lot of frontage.
So what's this parcel, where the bank is?
If I understand it, right,
Yes,
it's
the
where the
bank.
bank is, right? So, our only discrepancy is that the information that's more recent from online, is more specific than the map that we have presented to us for this application, if you will. So arguably, someone could say, well, what the hell is 42R? Look at this and you can't find it.
That could maybe be addressed in the site plan.
It's a good
Because it's a
suggestion.
different address too, it's 932 and 940.
It is?
Yeah.
It should be clear though. I mean,
Right, no, yeah, like where it is, on the
Exactly.
face of the earth.
Fair to the town and fair to the taxpayer, so. No matter what. Okay, so if we can address that later, make sure there's clarity on that, so that we have it specifically pointed to. Are we okay to kind of step through the application, if we have it? So. Okay. So the project name, it's not going to be named to be determined, it's.
No, I haven't come up with a name, I'm going through the steps first, to make sure I can get going, and doing all of the stuff through the state.
Yeah, we can't issue a permit in the name of to be determined. So, We'll need to get back to that, I guess.
Yeah.
So the project name doesn't need to be what I'm gonna name my business, or does it?
Actually, I was sort of joking, it could be, the permit could be issued in your name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the big steps first.
So let me just make sure I ask the board members.
Sure.
So, so I was thinking that by reviewing the application form, and by stepping through this is a blank checklist, that if we come across some gaps, I can indicate them on here,
Yeah,
and then give it back to the applicant, is that
Yeah.
still the same approach that you feel
Yeah.
comfortable with? Okay.
if that work for you, because,
Sure.
See, our idea is that,
There was
sometimes-
some that I didn't know what to put, like
Right.
shoreland zoning, there isn't any shoreland, so.
Where this says project name, she could just put medical marijuana caregiver, couldn't she?
Sure.
yeah,
She doesn't have to
for
have,
our purposes,
yeah,
Fine,
Sure, let's do
Yeah.
that.
that way when they file the file.
yeah.
Put it under M.
Or P, pot.
C for cannabis, come on.
Let's be a little professional here.
Alright, so for the application form, we have a project, name kinda happening. Name of property owner is listed, the name of the applicant is listed. We have no authorized agent, not applicable. No engineers are listed here because no engineering will be done here.
Right.
Other pertinent information is listed at the bottom, location of the property, we'll get more details later. Site plan, acreage is listed, you're not doing-
Telephone's missing. Telephone number.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
right
Oh,
there?
yeah, good
I
point.
didn't put my phone number?
You know, can she put it on the original? Do you have the
Please,
original?
yeah.
Oh.
Good point.
Oh, I thought it was the number of the authorized agent,
Oh, yeah, that could be,
so that's why I didn't put it there.
confusing, sure.
Well, that would be you anyway.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. You're not developing, I think there's an existing building there, is what you've indicated, correct? Existing structures and property, is a building.
Peter, probably should be clear that we're talking not just the existing building, but the parking too, right? I mean,
Correct.
that's gonna be part of this, so that,
Yeah, there's probably 4 parking spaces out front.
She
and-
gave us a diagram, I believe.
Yeah,
yeah.
I tried a little one.
Are the parking spaces out back paved, or are they just undesignated?
Undesignated, it would be like for me or an employee to park.
Right. So under, existing conditions on property, I think both building and parking should be,
Oh, I see, listed on the application.
listed on the application.
Okay, right, so what George is indicating there on the original
So can you
application,
change that? He'll
Yep.
show you.
Okay, sure.
near the bottom of the first page. Yeah, so near the bottom where it says existing conditions on the property, where it says structures,
Building and parking.
I can,
Yeah. While you're there, on the next page, the same thing.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Proposed water supply as an individual well?
There's a well there, yes.
Does that just serve that building, or does it serve
I think
both?
I think there's one.
One for,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Why doesn't an application have whether there's a septic system on the property?
Was that one of my highlighted ones? I highlighted a couple because I didn't know what to put.
No. So, okay, forward?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just asking.
Yeah. So then the next thing is, describe fire protective system to be used, is there one at that building, is it just,
It's a-
nothing exists, right?
No, it's not a sprinkler building,
No, there's no sprinkler system, no.
And that kind of facility doesn't require any,
no.
So if you lose the building, then you lose the building, and that's your loss.
They got insurance, right?
Okay. Interesting, next one. In which watershed is this property located?
Actually, gotta be in some watershed.
Maslowski, wouldn't
it's
it?
in Mezzalonsky.
Yeah, I'd say,
So, would you mind?
Is that the one I
please-
put NA, cause I didn't know what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's in the same watershed as this building.
Yeah.
and-
So it'd be Maslowski?
Yeah,
Great.
don't have to go too far, you can put Great Pond up.
No, you go on the other side of
Yeah.
the road. and-
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then we have a number of questions. Is any portion of the property in the shoreline area, and correctly indicated no, does the property abut or enclose a water body? There's no.
No.
Is any portion of the property within a 100-year floodplain? I hope to God it's not.
Or a bunch of towns in big trouble.
Yeah. Is the property part of an approved subdivision?
No.
No, is it? Okay. I don't know that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Did I put no?
You put no.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is this a subsequent phase of a multi-phase development?
No.
No? Okay. Is any portion of the development to be dedicated for public use?
Whoa. No, okay.
And by that.
Yeah, I didn't know what that,
What this is intended to mean would be, something that has nothing, like public use that's not, for your commercial business.
oh, no.
Like a public way, for example, a public park, that wouldn't be part of this, right?
No.
In other cases, there might be, but that's why we have.
Okay.
Are waivers requested for any submission requirements? You had indicated no, is that, to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
that is-
I wouldn't know what I'd need a waiver for.
Okay. All right. Let's see, the original application has the checklist that I presume, Tony, when you were filling this out, maybe consulting with Gary and putting the check marks in
Yes.
and that sort of stuff. We have a couple highlighted things,
Yeah, I didn't know what to put there.
we'll get to them, I think. Okay. So starting at the top, a fee was paid, it looks like $50 was circled.
Yep.
Mhm.
I paid him
Did you
today.
get a receipt or,
Mhm.
Peter, can I ask a question before we get started on the checklist?
sure?
The last one was our waivers requested, and the answer is no. As we get going through this application, I guess we could go back and, thinking that there's erosion, phosphorus control and stuff like that. Those type of plans, I don't imagine that we would be requiring, if the facility's already there, the parking there, to require that thing, that kind of stuff. It seems like we would probably waive that if requested, or waive it without
Actually,
request.
the soil, I think we need, just my take on it is we need to separate soil erosion control, because that language is a little different in the ordinance from the stormwater and phosphorus control. With regard to phosphorus and stormwater, the requirement is only if there's new construction, which I understand there will not be. So the ordinance doesn't even apply.
Right.
I mean, obviously, because there's no construction, you know, how can there be erosion to control? I guess we'd need to look at the language, maybe it's the same as the other two, but I'm not positive. So,
Yeah, maybe we
but-
could go back and.
yeah, but it may require a waiver, you're right.
That was all about, like, if there is a waiver requested, then we may have to change. So
Okay.
over here it says, waivers requested, we said no. So, we may have to do something, depends on
Okay.
how some things shake out, okay?
Okay.
Stepping through this, we've talked about the fee being paid, now, how do we feel about having the application form which was presented, that was the two-pager ahead of us? Is it complete in A, or?
The general information part,
Yes.
yeah, no, that's complete.
Waiver, request letter if applicable, at this point, I don't see how it's even applicable yet. Is there any,
No, I guess my thought of it, the NA is perfectly okay at this point, because she hasn't asked for anything.
next was general information including the
Oh,
following.
I'm sorry, I was wrong place, Peter.
Okay. Oh, are we okay to go on to the general information one?
Yeah.
So, relative to general information including the following, is the name, address, telephone number of the applicant, and property location including the address, map, and lot number. So, my take is it is complete with the, we do wanna kind of pinpoint the right lot, you know, the 42R. I'm hoping we can take that up to the site plan.
Maybe somebody else knows the answer to this question. I mean, when, for property tax purposes, what's the official document for the town? Is it the map
I would think so.
or
I would think so.
the big map or?
If you go into the town of Belgrade and pull up property tax valuations, that's where.
Oh, that's where you got,
That's
from
where I
the,
got
from the
the map.
card, the electronic version of the card. Well,
Yeah.
that was actually sort of the second part of my question, because, you know, is it the card, is it the map, is it?
Okay.
I just looked under property valuations.
Hmm.
Wow.
Because if it's a separate lot, you should be receiving a separate tax bill.
And it should be shown on the map that
Yeah.
way.
Because the map isn't always updated.
Yeah, but I don't believe the lot was just split out. It would have been separate a long time ago, so it should be on the map.
It should be done.
Yeah, because they didn't recently do it.
Tax map 7.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Wait. And,
42.
42R is what we are going.
932 Augusta Road is 42, and then if you click on the 940, I think it is. Augusta Road.
So, they are closer down, just a little bit more, bingo, so right in there is 42. Is it 42? Tony, you show?
You know what that 42R means?
No.
Rental, guarantee you.
Oh, yeah?
Oh.
Oh, do you want me to,
Do
sorry?
you mind?
No, no, no.
Sure,
Right.
Nick,
Oh, no, I didn't actually
Rental.
get to the map itself.
Yeah.
I went
So it
to
should be
property
42.
tax valuation and pulled up the name.
Right here?
Yep.
So if that's the case, for tax purposes, it's only the building, not the land, because the land is still has 42.
Oh, whichever one.
Correct. That ours is rental property, on that property.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see,
That's what
I
they-
didn't pull up the actual map, I pulled up the tax value.
So it's
Yeah.
42, it's not 42R.
Because it was a rental
You could,
property.
and you could change it on your application to 42.
Sorry.
No?
Sorry to be a pain.
No.
That's what it said.
Yeah, nothing,
And that would explain to to whoever was looking at that why there's two addresses on that property.
Yeah, yeah.
just trying to be clear,
Absolutely.
because it doesn't matter. Any high visibility thing, people say, hey, well, was this done by the book or not? So,
That's why I'm here.
yeah. And that's why we try to be precise with, I think, our questions. Okay, so we're squared away there. So do people feel complete, or do people feel that this information is complete relative to general information?
Both.
Thank you. Next line item, verification of applicant's right, title, or interest in the property. We have a deed.
We have a lease agreement from Tony.
You know, agreement for a lease.
Yep.
Is that good enough? I mean, I didn't know what else to.
And estimated cost of the proposal, I didn't see a value.
It's on that same paper.
Yeah.
Schedule of construction, including anticipated beginning and completion dates, there is no construction, correct?
No, just, I mean, I might have some stuff done on the inside of the building, just like redoing some counter work, but.
Sure. But the,
Taking out the drive-through.
so does the board feel that we should indicate NA, or is it complete?
Well, I think that's right.
I would say NA myself.
I'm thinking NA, because the applicant has told us this, but no
Right,
construction.
yeah, it's just not relevant.
How about a description of the project? We have had, another paragraph at the bottom of that same sheet that talks about the goals, so I'm thinking that's, in my mind, I'm thinking that's the proposed description.
Right, I think that's the only thing we have in here.
Yeah.
As well as what you've talked to us about tonight, which is captured on
Yes.
audio.
I was thinking that this needs a little bit of tweaking for specificity.
Mhm.
Partly because of all the hoorah in town and in the press about recreational marijuana.
Yes.
So adding something that clarifies the purchase of medical marijuana.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
And also, something stating that you'll be growing plants for your patients.
So basically,
Kind
what
of
was,
describing
what
you're
you
doing.
discussed.
Yeah, right, in other words, completely describing what will happen at that facility is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
So if you're gonna be growing some of the plants, even maybe not all of them, that should be stated.
Yeah, I would go so far as to say,
Grow and dispense.
Yeah.
It's not a
Whatever.
dispensary.
What, I'm sorry?
It's not considered a dispensary.
Yeah, cause that's medical marijuana language,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes, it is. Yep. But dispensaries are completely different than caregivers.
So they can use it
Oh,
on
right,
site.
right, yeah.
Because anybody can
No.
walk into a dispensary.
No.
What's that, Craig?
Anybody can walk into a dispensary as long as they have a medical card. She's gonna have clients.
She has specific
that only-
patients, not,
Specific patients that can only buy there.
is the role of a caregiver,
Right,
which by definition allows you to grow up to 5 plants.
6 plants.
I'm sorry, 6 plants
6 plants per patient.
per patient.
But you can only have, I can't remember,
So many
6
patients.
flowering plants is what they call it.
yeah.
So you could have all kinds in different stages of the process, but you can only have 6 ready to produce, to give to your clients.
This is a little off topic, but like I said, I don't know anything about this, so I actually went to the state statute and it talks about female plants, which flowering plants, mature female plants. Is there an unlimited number of immature or male plants? Are the plants male and female like there are for some flowering and fruit
trees.
bearing?
I believe, yes, but I'm not a,
Horticulturist?
yes, there you go, thank you. But yes, but you can have 6 plants ready to sell.
But you could have a
Per
bunch
pa-
of smaller ones.
You can have all kinds of smaller ones. You can only have 6 ready to,
Right, that was.
Yep.
But anyway, the point of my comment was, if you're gonna be growing plants here, this should say that.
right, okay, so, can I just
Medical-
add
Medical marijuana and.
You can add it on the bottom of that if you want.
to common purchase medical? So can I just like put that right there?
Yeah. And then add to it underneath what you wrote already.
For the purposes of maybe growing plants in accordance with Maine statute or law.
Yeah, you may wanna state that, whatever that statute is, George, you got it handy?
I only have, no, I don't. I know it's in Title 22, but I don't have all the section numbers.
I think it'd be a good idea to have that.
Well, you don't need
No, you could just
No?
say,
Maine state law, can't you?
yeah, right.
I put Maine statute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right,
fine.
in accordance with.
So, under that, I just put plants will be grown at this facility in accordance with Maine statutes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I like that, cause it points the purpose of the business to be, for medical marijuana caregiver. Maine state law defines how much you can grow, flowering and
Right,
all
yeah.
that other stuff. So it kind of points anybody to a path for the purpose of this business.
Right.
Does the board feel okay with that? I mean, just so
Yeah.
far?
Do you want me to add anything else to it? or-
Could you just mind reading that last part?
My goal is to open a safe, friendly, professional environments for clients to come and purchase medical marijuana. I'm in the process of receiving my caregiver license and in hopes to have 3 other caregivers join me in the future. Plants will be grown at this facility in accordance with Maine statutes. I don't know if I spelled that correctly.
Should be good. That
That
fleshes
covers
it
it
out.
for me, yeah.
Yeah, that fleshes it out.
Okay. Thanks, we have so does the board feel okay with the now? Description of the project is recently read to us?
Peter, that probably should be initialed.
Oh, right, yeah. Picture this is-
Some of that other stuff probably is too minor, but since that's more of a substantive, no, just that one.
Yeah.
This one, I should do this, I scribbled out in there.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I
And-
worked for a lawyer, I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
So, copy of the tax map, I think that's what this page was.
Yes.
correct? Copy of the Kennebec soil, map showing the property.
That's for new construction, isn't it?
The ordinance doesn't specify,
It does not,
I don't believe.
and if I remember correctly, we had had that in the town office before.
We always have, I don't know what happened to it.
Right.
I mean, the soils map, is one thing. The topographical map is in part, not just the topography, but as a location map.
So for the,
I mean, we all know where it is, but
right,
if somebody came in to review the application, they may not know where.
so for the soil map, are you thinking we could say not applicable in this case, but that we would need a topographic map showing the property?
Yeah, let me just read.
What we're-
It's under submission requirements and under Article 6, which is, it's Section 2, and the heading for this is general information, general location information, including the following. And then it's got the tax map, the soils map, and the USGS topographical map. This may be something that, as Rich said earlier, we may want to suggest having placed it in a waiver,
Oh, yeah.
and, because I don't really see a lot of use to us knowing what the soils are at that site, given that it's all developed. But a US Geological Survey topographical map would still be applicable in my mind as a, here's where it is on the face of the earth.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So what that's about is, as Rich indicated earlier, as we go through, we may find things that you haven't provided us, but might be applicable for you to, by letter, provide us with a letter requesting waivers
Okay,
and why. And so for a soils map of the site, you know, the justification might be, well, there's no development
Development's
proposed,
already
there's no
developed.
earthwork proposed, so
so I
there's
don't
no
need
need
that.
to know what the soils are. In contrast to the topographical map, which, there are any number of places that you can get that, I think, including online.
Right.
I think we do need,
Would says specifically USGS, I was wondering whether the dorm that has the topo lines on it would be adequate, but it's not a USGS.
my personal feeling is that that's oftentimes used in other circumstances as a substitute, if it's all you're concerned about is location rather than topography. If this was a large site where we're concerned and it's being newly developed, maybe I would argue that a topographical map would be essential, but this is only gonna serve as a locational map, so a photocopy from a DeLorme atlas with an arrow pointing project, I would think would do it.
Really?
Do it for me.
You
Do it for
can
me.
handle that.
I think I can handle that, I don't know.
The next line after those two is a copy of the shoreline zoning map, showing the property is located in the shoreline district. It is not.
It's not.
So we have complete NA or waived. This is an example of another one where we'd probably end up saying not located in there, so may it be waived then.
No,
But that
not
was-
waived, but
NA
NA.
was
Or
fine.
is NA?
It's not applicable because she's not in a shoreline zone.
Yeah, right.
Okay, good. All right. Copy of the firm map showing the property if located in the designated floodplain, NA,
Yeah.
for the same reason. Copy of the National Wetlands Inventory map showing the property.
I'm fine with NA.
Everybody else okay with that?
Mhm.
A map drawn to scale showing the location, boundaries, elevation, uses, size of the following, all these things that they talked about.
I notice you can't see the photocopy.
No,
Nick has the original, it's probably a little better than the photocopy that didn't come out.
I guess so. Is this it?
Yeah.
So, a map drawn to scale. Probably is not drawn to scale.
my thinking is we probably should provide a little bit better map for us, even though we know where it is.
Yeah.
Could we, would, if she did it on the graph paper, you know, the graph paper you buy at the store,
Uh-huh,
and use that, you know,
She
you could take what you have there and redo it on graph paper, that way you put the footage in there and all that stuff, you know, that'd work, wouldn't it?
I guess I don't know what to scale means, I guess.
So,
I thought you just wanted a sketch of like where it is. I mean,
yeah, but for example, you know, how many feet from the property line, how many feet from the
Yeah.
highway right of way,
Yeah.
the width of the entranceways, because those are all things we're gonna get to yet in the
Okay.
ordinance in
When-
terms of
So do I
what
need
you
to have,
have
like,
there
a-
now, how does it mesh with the requirements of the ordinance?
If I recall, when Ronnie was selling cars there,
Yeah.
and he went to the planning board, I think Tony had a survey that showed the buildings and everything else. Do you remember that?
I remember.
It was either a
Coming in,
survey,
but I can't
it was
remember
either
all.
a survey or a very, very well-done plan that someone drew
Okay.
out. So Tony may still have a copy of that.
okay,
So,
Okay.
if not, I'll tie
so
it
what
to
it needs
I
is,
guess.
what it needs to show basically is what's listed underneath on the checklist that you have in front of you.
I don't have one.
You know,
Right.
boundaries,
Oh, okay, yeah,
All these things, you know, if there's
Some of
parking
it,
areas,
you
driveways.
know, there's no water costs, there's a water bodies, da-da-da, but
yeah.
okay,
show the parking areas, da-da-da.
okay.
so you can only show what's present, but
Yeah, about half of them are.
half of them are gonna be not applicable, but
Okay, so that's one thing.
And I don't think you need to hire a survey, I mean, you can draw it to scale.
Sure, there are ways to get things to scale and then.
Yeah.
have it on there.
Do you know how to do it, Craig?
well, and another option would be, if you're familiar with how to use Google Earth,
Mm-hmm.
that would be another way, to use that as a base map and then put in
Yeah, measurements,
measurements.
So,
that's an easy way.
yeah, they'll have this
Don't have to
scale.
draw, all you gotta do is figure it out.
Yeah,
Scale on the map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh, okay, I can do
it's,
that.
it's
yeah, that's.
pretty
that's-
approximate because of the errors in satellite imagery, but
Right,
at that scale, but.
Okay.
it does help.
If I can do it on the internet, I can do it.
Yep.
So the next item is the location of all proposed subsurface wastewater disposal systems. Are you proposing any?
No,
So I'm thinking NA.
it's none proposed.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
The, what is the is there again, a shared wastewater system for the,
Yeah, there's a big septic system out back, if I recall,
okay,
because for some reason, I don't know if there was an issue with it at some time, but I recall being out back and looking at something quite a while ago.
Indication of water source for a proposal, including evidence that an adequate water supply is available to supply all the water needs of the proposal, including fire suppression. Gary, what do you advise on that?
It's existed, the water supply's already existing, and there is no fire suppression.
So
well,
is
and
that-
given the limitations on the number of plants,
Right.
I mean, it's not much more than
I don't think it's
a
a
household,
I
so.
don't think it's a high water
and I-
usage.
No.
I mean, I don't know if that's a drilled well into bedrock or if
Oh, I
it's
don't
into
know.
the sand and gravel aquifer, but if it's in the aquifer,
Yeah.
it's probably a gusher,
Yeah.
because the well at the town office is considered a high yielding well, because it's over 50 gallons per minute.
So that would, if it is, then that would give us a lot of confidence. that
Yeah.
there's Plenty of water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, since it's existing, we just think we
Right.
compete.
Can't imagine your facility using more water than. the
yeah,
bank-
I would
bank
say
employs.
complete
No.
rather than not applicable myself,
I would too.
because, I mean, we're basically making a judgment that the water supply is adequate for the intended need.
Next line says, a letter of assurance from the state fire marshal.
So I'm sorry, go back to the checklist, you need to, it has to be filled in, right? Well, it's blank right now, so you need to put it in.
Which one's
Complete?
that?
No, she doesn't, this was just to show what she had to provide.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what he's doing.
Oh, we're right here in the next to last part, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's doing that.
Yours
Right.
is just a copy, he's filling in
Alright.
that info.
Oh, so you put a check mark there,
Yeah,
that is complete? I didn't hear you say that.
yeah.
I did.
Okay,
It's
Alright.
it's complete.
oh, yeah, I didn't hear you say that.
Okay.
Okay, good, thanks.
So then, the next one, a letter of assurance from the state fire marshal indicating compliance with commercial fire code requirements. Are there, what kind of fire?
They're on the,
I don't-
No, that's not even a requirement in the ordinance, I don't even know why that's there,
So you think NA?
Yep.
is the
Yeah.
most appropriate?
that or cross it out.
We should wipe it out on all future applications.
Okay, turning the page, evidence that all local permits have been obtained, including but not limited to shoreline zoning and floodplain management. Gary, are you aware of any other requirements?
no,
So is it appropriate then to say NA in this case?
I think it's appropriate to take that question right off the checklist. What other there isn't a shoreline permit when they go through commercial development review, right?
I don't know.
You said there isn't? If it's in the shoreline zone, they don't have to get a shoreline zone permit?
No,
No, not if it goes through commercial development review.
Oh,
But
What other
What?
permit would be applicable?
was,
With floodplain or?
does the commercial development the review doesn't talk about setbacks from the water or anything like that.
I'm not sure that this says it the way it should then.
I think I've always read the intent of that as being to ensure that, all other town permits are acquired at the same time that may be required. Obviously shoreline zoning isn't, the permit under the floodplain ordinance isn't,
Not applicable in this
not
case.
yeah,
Right.
right,
But,
That's the way I read it too.
Yeah.
If it was in the floodplain,
yeah,
get the floodplain permit and show us that you got a floodplain permit before we issue our permit.
Right. right, or at least concurrently.
so you're okay if I put down, indicate NA then, in this case?
And I think the point I was trying to make was, Rich, if this wasn't a shoreline zone, and you knew that it was gonna be a commercial review,
Yeah.
you couldn't issue a permit for her to build a structure in a shoreline zone for knowing it's commercial use prior to going through this commercial use ordinance.
Oh,
Review.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I mean?
Kinda like the order. in
You
which
wouldn't
it was
have
put
them
in.
first before this application.
Right,
You might have them at the same time, or
Right,
you might,
yeah.
or they might follow,
right,
but they wouldn't be first,
right, right, it's a good point.
you know? Anyway,
So, the next one, an erosion control plan as per the requirements of this ordinance. George, you mentioned this before, erosion would be applicable in the cases where construction is being, part of the plan is being proposed.
Yeah,
In this case, there's not.
right, and with the ordinance isn't as clear as it is for the, stormwater and phosphorus control plans, but, and so I'm in, for those that wish to follow along, Article 7, the development standards, and I'm in erosion control, which is section 3, and the opening paragraph reads, all soil disturbance must be conducted in a manner which avoids sediment leaving the property. Development must employ best management practices, and on it goes. And then only later, does it talk about the plan? Since there's no new soil disturbance, it would seem to me that, this may not apply.
Yeah, the only thing when I was looking at the application, the only thing that I had in a question in my mind is behind the building, if it were, say you wanted to add more parking and you're gonna bulldoze out there and pave it and stuff like that.
Right.
But if all you're gonna do is park on existing parking that the bank used, then
Yeah,
there's nothing.
I don't
really
see any,
building.
and I think the ordinance gives us the latitude to,
Yeah, I would think so too. So do you think that would be true for erosion control as well as phosphorus
and stormwater.
and stormwater?
Yeah, just for everybody's benefit, I can tell you what, this reads sort of the way the vegetative screening reads for, where new is the operative word. Give me a minute. All right, so stormwater management, which is section 12 of that same article, the opening paragraph reads, all new construction and development shall be designed to reflect or resemble as nearly as possible natural runoff conditions in terms of volume, velocity, and location of runoff, and then it proceeds from there. So again, it's all new construction and development, which, of course, this is not
So
new.
you could say NA in that case again.
Yeah, right,
So it's
and the language for the phosphorus control is, the same.
it's NA on all three.
Yeah, bless you. Okay. Yeah, that's an excellent point for each of these. So for erosion control, stormwater control, and phosphorus control plan, it seems like we can point to areas within the current ordinance to say that NA would be applicable for these.
Yeah. Now, just for the sake of discussion, as a matter of substance, you know, in terms of, I mean, that parcel clearly generates stormwater runoff now. Clearly, there's phosphorus runoff coming from that now. You know, where does it go? Well, it comes down 27, goes to the same place where the runoff from this property goes, which is that cow pond on the other side of
It's a horse pond now.
or horse pond, excuse me,
On Endigott's farm.
and goose pond in the springtime that has no outfall and infiltrates into the subsurface. So it's not going to reach Mesolonsky Lake.
Did that dry up this summer?
It did.
It dried up, didn't it?
Yeah,
Does every summer, don't it?
yeah, it does pretty much, even when we have normal rainfall.
Mm.
It's just a question of how long.
All right, so the next item, so I put NA for those three things. And actually, the first one was also NA, so the first four, I can say NA. Next, the location of any site or structure listed on the National Register of Historic Places or any archaeological site identified by the State Historic Commission. This,
I know the answers there aren't any.
right, so I'm thinking, the way I'm reading this would be in NA for this line. Next, the location of any significant wildlife resources or natural areas. Are there any?
And when they put that in the ordinance where it requires that, is that on the lot? You know, obviously, there's no anything on the lot. I'm kinda asking this question in relationship to maybe even another project down the road. Is it nearby or is it on the lot?
That's a good question, because you could have a project that impacts, say, the deer yard on the adjoining parcel, for example, or, but, I mean, for this,
For this project,
I think that that's, you know, not relevant, but, I don't think there's a deer yard in the cemetery as far as I know, but
You never know.
you never know.
I did see one run through it.
That does not make a deer yard,
So does the board feel that NA is appropriate for this?
despite our excursion, yes.
Alright, thanks. Next, the traffic access data for the site, including an estimate of the amount of vehicular traffic to be generated on a daily basis. Do you have any information about that, or?
None other than what she talked about earlier when I asked about traffic.
Which was captured on audio, if you have that.
I mean, that could be, or at least the maximum could be estimated, which would still be a very low number, because assuming you eventually have 3 caregivers with a maximum, would say 5
5, yes.
patients
So
per
it would be
per
15.
person, there's 15 per month, or, you know,
Maybe,
whatever
or
it is,
even per week.
or per week even.
Yeah, It'd be about
That
the
makes
same
it a
as
pretty
bank.
low volume.
well, no, it'd be less than a bank.
I don't
Yeah,
think-
right, less
You
than
know.
that,
You
even
probably-
less than that bank.
You won't have the Tony, the traffic Tony has.
No.
So would you say it's complete? Based on what you've minuted that she's talked about?
Yeah, possibly so, you know, we've had discussion about that.
Yeah,
How does it
we
work?
would need something, I think, submitted.
Oh, okay, something in writing.
Well, I don't know, that,
I think we've asked that of other applicants.
Yeah, no, we have.
In each case,
Basically summarizing what you said earlier.
Much traffic.
So I don't have to like actually get like a traffic count
No.
or, okay.
no.
Okay.
Stand out there.
I know, it's like,
Because this all gets to not only traffic accessing Route 27 and not the safest place in town, but also parking requirements.
So I might recommend that a simple paragraph on written might include the things that you've talked about already, you know, knowing that you're gonna have so many plants and, so many people that will be coming
in and out.
in and out.
Okay.
You could include so many visits on some frequency, you know, whether it's per day or per week or whatever.
So So it can be like an approximate, and it doesn't have to be like very specific, I'm only gonna
Right.
have
Right.
this many people per day, I mean,
Yeah.
because you don't
Right.
know, okay,
But yeah, just go on a calculation like we talked about.
Yeah.
Just tonight, you know, I said,
Yeah.
if we have this many plants and this many people I can be a licensed caregiver for, I could estimate to have this many visits on
Yeah.
a weekly basis.
Cause they can only get so much in a certain amount of time, so they
Right.
can't just keep
Right.
every day come in and
No.
start buying a ton.
Right.
They're only allowed to buy a limited amount,
And that's another
Over a
aspect
certain-
there, yeah,
certain time.
so that would be a relatively straightforward
okay,
paragraph. It does not have to be a work of art, it's just lays it out, right, that's all.
okay.
So I've got a star on that one as an identified need, you know, to share with the. Any proposed areas or structures to be dedicated for public use? I think previously we said there were none. So I'm thinking that means NA for this. Everybody comfortable? Next is scale drawings showing the location and construction specifications for all proposed roads and a whole list of things.
nothing's being
I guess
proposed.
that's for new construction.
That's what I'm thinking too, so NA is appropriate, I believe. The next line item, any other material to show that the applicable performance standards or other requirements of this ordinance are followed. Does any other performance standard jump out, or other requirements jump out?
Well, I have questions about a number of the standards that the checklist doesn't really touch on. You know, signs, lighting, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you wanna wait with that, or,
Well, I can say that from my perspective, we have 3 items that we would still need.
yeah.
So a quick review, we've got a copy of the USGS topo map showing the property, is one. Number 2,
The
a
soils
map.
map waiver,
I don't need a waiver, but we did talk about that you would submit in writing a waiver about the soil map, yes.
okay,
True.
Traffic.
and,
Traffic,
and a graph to scale,
and also
Yeah.
the drawing to scale.
Yep.
With showing the features that we talked about.
Yep.
So actually there are
But you
four,
can do that on
1, 2, 3,
Google.
right, yes,
four
Yep.
things. So knowing that, I can't predict, but my hunch is we would not be approving this until we got those things.
Mhm.
Therefore, going along George's conversation he started, about questions about signs and lights, we could either have them now or discuss them when we come back.
so do I have to wait until the next planning board meeting? Okay,
So, I don't know, how does the board feel about
It's
that?
2 weeks from now.
I think, this may or may not result in additional information that you may need to provide us, so it'd be best if she knew about it right now,
Yeah,
so
let's
that
do that.
to avoid any unnecessary delay for
Yeah.
her.
okay,
You know, it kinda depends on what we learn,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully, there's nothing much, but,
There's a sign there right now for the bank, right?
there is, yes.
That's, you're gonna utilize that sign?
That sign will stay there until the bank is done with their, it's not really a lease, but they have the right to use that drive-through, so that will stay theirs. And then after that, I'm really not gonna do anything big flashy. I mean, this is gonna be
Yeah,
very,
right.
you know, like,
yeah, low-key,
low-key, I mean, just a nice, you know.
people that need to know about it,
Exactly, yeah,
yeah.
Not a 4x8 sheet of plywood.
no.
You had to be here for that one. Do you want me to, do you wanna just go through some of the standards?
We should, to benefit you.
Yeah, that way I can have everything I need the next
Yeah.
time I come in.
So just for your benefit, so the way the ordinance is set up, it has a number of performance standards
Okay.
in it. Some of we've already touched on, but some we haven't, aren't addressed in the checklist, and that's just what I wanted to go through.
Okay.
And this is Article 7 for those. And part of this is just to see if others agree with me, I guess, in part. The Section 2, access to public streets. Based on what we know so far, this seems to clearly meet what's called a low volume, traffic volume development, which is 6 or fewer vehicles per hour. Can't imagine that will be exceeded. So not allowed more than 2 access points. There are 2 access points there now. That's not a problem. Onto a single road. They need to be 20 feet wide. I'm pretty certain they're 20 feet wide,
Oh, yeah.
if not more. So I don't think there's, you know, I don't think it increases the traffic safety hazard that exists in that in this stretch of road any more than it is now. Makes it any worse, and probably makes it less worse than it was when the bank was there. So that
I would agree.
okay. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also the site distances, it's 10 feet per mile per hour. So what
That's
was
40.
it? 40, yeah, so 40 feet certainly
400
has
feet.
that.
Yeah.
All right, in
Pretty
that
sure.
direction, and more than that in this direction.
More in this direction.
So that should be fine. I had a question, there's a section in here called material storage, and it deals with everything from hazardous materials and petroleum storage to storage of equipment and things out of doors. And so my question for you is, are you planning to store anything outside of the building? No.
No.
I wouldn't have thought so, but.
It would be there.
Well,
Yeah,
I
no.
wasn't just thinking plans, but, and the question, then the other question becomes, for me, is, how much fertilizers and pesticides do you need to store on site for the growing process?
Not much for the 6 plants that I can have there.
Yeah, so it's
And
more
then-
like somebody would have in their household kind of thing?
Yeah,
And there's no pesticides.
no, we don't use pesticides, it's gonna be all organic.
Okay,
Right.
all right, all right, good.
I have a
Apparently
question.
some do use pesticides
Yeah.
because there's something in the statute about if you apply pesticides, you have to be a licensed applicator.
Well, now caregivers have to go through the pesticide, class
Training?
with the Department of
Yeah,
Agriculture,
right.
which I'm actually going to. I'm not gonna be using them, but I'm gonna go and learn and,
Okay, all right.
Question for the board, in that same area of the material storage, it says, where a potential safety hazard to children is recognized by the planning board, physical barrier sufficient to deter small children from entering the area shall be provided and maintained in good condition. Is this a concern for us in this particular case where,
children aren't allowed.
Children
This
can't
is
go
all
in
gonna
there.
be locked,
This is all 20, you have to be 21 or over.
right,
Okay.
and the,
To secure
if I saw in the
facility.
statute, you have to have all the material, all the processed marijuana in a locked safe.
I have the big bank safe.
Oh,
I'm on it.
that ought to do it.
And I've already looked into it, and you can buy the actual containers that you
How-
give to your
how
people.
sympathetic,
They have
sympathetic.
child safety now. They're a little more money, but I'm gonna have those too.
so it sounds
I
like.
think there's a trend here, you you got an old bank that's not being used, we got the use for you.
Exactly. So if I'm understanding this correctly, then say a patient comes to the business
Mhm.
and the patient has children, the children can stay in the vehicle, or they can't go into the
No.
building, is that correct?
Correct. That's, and I don't know if that's a state law or anything, but that's my law.
Okay. All right, good
You
enough.
know fun, man.
What's that?
You know fun.
Any other, I'm sure there'll be some other standards to touch on.
Yeah, moving on to parking, if we may, which is section 8. You said there's 4 parking spaces, or,
Yeah, probably 4, I would think out front, maybe.
let's see,
And then actually in front of the garage, I
Yeah.
can use that parking too, so. I
How
can't
big- how
imagine I'm
big-
gonna have that many people
How
there at the
how
same
many square
time.
feet is that building?
230, if I'm remembering
Oh, okay.
correctly.
No, it's bigger than that.
Is it bigger than that?
Yeah.
I thought he told me it was 2,300, I don't know.
No, it wouldn't be 23.
It might be it might be
You told me I
1,000,
didn't need to know
1,200
that.
feet. 230's a shed.
Oh, well, it's not much bigger than a shed. So I had it-
Probably
I'm finding it really quickly. Oh, here it is. Oh, okay, so let's assume for a moment it's 1,000 square feet, 4 parking spaces are required. So that's about right. I guess, I think though we need to have it noted somewhere that you're gonna have 4 or more parking
The bank
spaces.
had it, then I would assume it's,
Yeah, her drawing that you can't see shows 4 parking spaces.
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah.
It shows it on that.
All right, well, if it's on the site drawing, that's good enough.
It is.
On the new site drawing.
Yeah, but do they show 4, Nick, on that? On the original, Peter? Oh, Nick said it.
Okay. All right, yeah, sorry, I
No,
didn't,
that's okay.
couldn't read it.
It says a general parking, so
Okay.
it doesn't say 4.
And then in front of the garage, there's even more.
Yeah,
It says gas pumps.
well, there's the garage and the
It
gas
would be
pumps.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, go right
I
ahead.
was gonna say, in my mind, it'd be good when you do this scale drawing,
To show
show
that.
4 parking spaces.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, right, that would be the easiest way.
How wide does this parking space need to be?
About 8 by 19 or something, 8.5 by 19. Typically.
I imagine the parking spaces are out there when the bank was there.
Right,
The white lines
that's-
are still there, or whatever.
I think
9 by 18.
9 by 18.
We have that defined in our.
Yes, it is. That's the minimum, 9 by 18. And, also, requires at least one be handicapped.
Well, there's no, it's all on one level, so.
No, one parking space.
Oh, okay. Do you need to define that? Like,
Are
how
those
would you-
painted, are those striped in front of the bank?
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
But I think the handicap that, what the bank used, it was the one on the side of the building.
Just
like-
show it on your plan.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Yeah, show it on your
handicap
plan.
Okay.
parking. One space.
Just one? That's all you'd need?
It's 1 in
I mean,
25.
I would assume some of your patients might be handicapped.
Correct, and that's why that's why I'm working with the state to be able to deliver it to
Right.
those people.
Just for the board's, you know, collective thinking, I guess. I personally don't think, and because this is an existing facility, that the vegetative screening standards apply.
You'd have to dig up the pavement just to do it.
Well, there's that, but the way it's written,
Yeah.
neither the roadside vegetative screening, because there's no new construction, and since there isn't a residential structure on either property abutting on the sides,
Yeah,
that isn't required, so.
yeah, I agree.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
And so if I understood, if I heard correctly regarding the sign, that's the bank sign, and they're responsible for that?
Yes.
And you're not intending to have some,
No,
okay, so there'll be no
the
sign?
Irving sign is big enough.
Okay.
Not gonna look like Steve's plans?
Yeah, no.
The last one I have has to do with waste generation, and, I didn't know, since I don't know anything about how these facilities are operated really, what wastes might be generated, you know, I mean, for example, waste marijuana, what's done with that, is it,
There really isn't any waste, because you would use anything that you're not gonna, sell as smokable marijuana, you would use to make tincture, which is the oil.
okay, alright,
Um,
so,
I'm trying to, yeah,
so otherwise it would just be normal household waste kind of thing?
yeah,
Okay. I think that would be good to have documented, Peter.
Yeah, that's a good.
Because I
point.
could see somebody asking,
Is that right, Craig? I mean, there's not a lot of, I mean,
you in this business as a sideline? I mean, you seem to know a lot about it. You should be asking questions, not me.
well, my husband actually grows it for me, because I have my medical. So
Oh, I
he's been
see.
growing it for a couple of years for me, so that's why I'm thinking, no, there's not really anything to throw away. I mean,
Okay.
some, but not.
I mean, one of the reasons I ask is because in the statute, the state statute,
Mhm.
there was, it sounded like there was a procedure for returning it to, if you weren't growing it yourself, returning to whatever growing facility,
Really?
any excess.
Hmm.
And there was a protocol for doing that,
And that might be the dispensaries too.
maybe.
Yeah.
So I think in whatever letter we're gonna get with supplemental information here, if you could just clarify that there's really no waste, that'll be going to the transfer station other than normal household waste.
That would be appropriate. Again, a simple paragraph.
Yeah,
Okay.
or
And
less.
actually, that would go in the dumpster that's
Yeah.
right there. and
Yeah, right,
Wouldn't go
which
to
I
Velvet.
assume, oh, it doesn't?
No,
In that case, put anything you want in
Just
it.
saying.
No, I'm on tape, aren't I? That's all I had, Peter.
Okay.
So how is the operation gonna be?
I haven't really settled on that yet. I'm still kind of in the planning process. I mean, this was my first step towards what my goal is. So it's just gonna be during the day. I mean, it's not gonna be, this nightly. I like to be home.
Well, if you get into where in the darkness, then you've got the lighting of your signage too.
Oh, yes, no. And if I do, then of course, I'll have the lighting, and I wouldn't be open past 9 o'clock anyway, because I'm not gonna be there by myself.
Yeah. Are you planning any additional lighting to what's there already?
Just for the grow room that we'll have.
Yeah, interior.
Interior.
I actually meant
Outside,
exterior.
outside there we'll do the motion lights, so they won't be on unless somebody actually,
all security.
security lights,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, no, I'm not thinking that, but
Okay. If you could
it would be
clarify
minimal.
that in your letter too, because
Okay.
there's, light emissions standards in the ordinance and security lighting is perfectly fine.
yeah.
But, if you were proposing other lighting, we'd then have to,
Yeah, no, because there's a big light on the garage.
right.
So
right.
that,
So
I
you
mean,
get benefit from
I
that.
get benefit from that, so there's not gonna be,
Okay.
So I don't have any other questions, but I want to make sure we're clear on where we are on the checklist.
Okay.
So with this one that says, any other material to show that the applicable performance standards or other requirements of this ordinance are followed, we highlighted one thing we were gonna ask that you just submit something straightforward about the waste disposal part.
yep, the trash, yep.
So for the purposes of this line item, does the board feel comfortable putting basically an asterisk next to this rather than saying complete or NA? Because we have other things that we still have a gap and we need information for.
Yeah, I would leave that
Okay,
incomplete
great,
at this point,
okay,
and then we can, check it off once we.
once we get it. So then the last item on this list, the estimated quantities of flammable or hazardous materials to be stored or handled on site. If you're focusing on flammable, I'm not sure if there's anything applicable. I don't know if one would argue that hazardous materials would be the product itself, I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
I don't think they'll find that in hazard materials.
I don't know how it would work.
No, the only, and that was the reason for my question about the pesticides and
Okay.
fertilizers.
Perfect, okay. So therefore, knowing the answers to both those, words that we're using here, does the board feel that MA is appropriate?
Yeah,
Because
that'd be
they're
fine.
not storing anything flammable?
Yes.
And they're not storing anything hazardous?
Correct.
Okay. So, quick review, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, right?
That's what she's got, right?
I think, the topographical map,
Yep,
the soils map waiver, asking for a waiver.
yes,
A graph to scale.
Yep.
From Google Earth. A letter regarding the traffic count, in and out visits per week.
yes,
show the parking on my drawing,
Yeah.
one for handicapped. The waste trash is gonna be general household.
Yep.
And lighting,
In the dumpster,
okay, so
yeah, just note that.
dumpster, okay.
And so, so we'll keep, I'd like to keep this.
Oh, absolutely.
This is, and what I've done is just put a little mark next to the things that would be waiting for you.
Okay,
I'll keep this with the original application, and when we see you again, and we address the, things that we still are asking you
Mhm.
for, then we can fill it out and then make a decision on the application,
okay.
okay?
So is this something I can gather up and have someone look at before I actually come back again?
Absolutely.
So I make sure it's all,
I can.
okay,
The next meeting's the 19th.
the 19th, okay. Just, I wanna just make sure I have everything.
Yeah, I can look at it.
Okay,
I have one sort of general question, it has less to do with our decision-making, but I noticed in the statute it says something about the caregiver has to be present or in the vicinity of when when marijuana is being utilized.
yes, either myself or I can have one employee.
Okay, so like if, so would that mean they would be actually taking the marijuana on at your facility on occasion, in addition to at home, or how?
Smoking it up there as well?
Well,
No, no, no,
Is
no.
that what you mean?
You mean smoking it?
No,
At
well,
the
no,
on the premises? No.
yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay, yeah, no.
I was trying to be politically correct.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Tripping over
I'm
my
very
tongue.
straightforward.
I know what you meant.
Thanks, Jerry.
No, they're not gonna be actually using the medicine at
So
my
what does that
facility.
statute mean? That you have to be present? What do you,
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how that worked.
I'm not even sure I've heard that one before.
Yeah,
'Cause it's not like you can go into a dispensary and just put it
Yeah,
out.
that's
I
what,
mean,
no.
or maybe you can now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
I
question.
I can, where I found this was in Title 22, subsection 2423.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it,
Oh, yeah,
not
no,
so
I'm
much,
gonna look at it, yeah.
not so much relevant here to our discussion necessarily, because I don't think we have any control over that regardless, but,
Yeah.
but I was just more a matter of curiosity.
Yeah. Is the passage of the marijuana referendum gonna put you out of business, and eventually, or?
Maybe eventually, but I don't think so, because it's gonna take at least a year to even get to a point to have it rec, and then it's gonna take another year to get that into place, so.
Yeah, just kinda wondering when it becomes lawful or such, and it's like, why should I go for somebody I can grow up myself and whatever.
Well, and also for tax purposes, if you have your medical card, you only pay state taxes, and when it becomes rec, you're gonna be paying, I think it's like a 10% tax, and then municipalities can put another tax on it. That's for rec, so if you pay $150 to get your medical card, you just come and pay 5.5% tax.
One question I had, as we're going through this application, or we'll be going through and stuff, it's my understanding that we're actually, we'll be treating, in terms of the potential of 3 other associates or whatever.
Correct.
Not just you at this point.
It's-
Yeah.
That's kind
It's
of
just
how
me
I
at this point.
sense
Yeah.
it, that we're
That-
gonna be looking at what you said you could have there.
Correct.
Not just your,
I think that says it in your paperwork.
It does,
And
yes.
it also is minuted. It should be.
Well, and plus, that becomes most relevant when we're talking about the traffic, and if
Yeah.
you're assuming there are 3
Right,
times
that's-
5, 15,
That's what I was
that
doing,
covers
yeah,
it.
just in case.
Yep.
And in all actuality, the only other caregiver I could have would be my husband or my daughter in the same building as myself. It has to be a blood relative or your,
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yep.
Did you know that, Craig?
Yep. You can't collaborate with other caregivers.
Oh,
another question really, in a way, isn't totally related to the application. The bank drive-through is still there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that gonna be there even when your business is there, or when you start your business, they gotta get out or whatever, is that?
I'm not exactly sure of their sort of contract with the owner, with Tony. I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but there's not much, nobody uses it really anymore.
Yeah, I don't see many cars.
I didn't even know it was an operation.
I know, well, and I think Tony's kind of hoping that once I'm in there, they'll kind of
Fade away.
fade away.
You could use that drive-through.
Yeah.
No. We're not gonna be a Dunkin' Donuts.
No, you're getting confused with recreational.
Yeah, right.
That's later down the road, all the big PMs.
So, based on our discussion and review of the application and the checklist, we've talked about what we still need to make an informed decision. We've highlighted those things, I think you've taken some good notes that we know you have to do. So, I'm thinking we would need to have an official motion about what we do tonight, relative to the submission of the application, like, until we hear back from the.
I'll make a motion to table the application until we have the completed materials.
Second.
So does that help you understand where we're going?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you have any questions for us anymore?
You can show me what you have prior to that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I was gonna bring it in and,
Appreciate that. Do we have any more questions for the applicant? Anybody? No? Okay, so then all in favor of the motion? Great. Thank you. So we'll see you,
Thank you.
like we mentioned, on the 19th.
but I'll meet in probably next Thursday.
That's
with all
fine.
my stuff.
Yep,
Go
absolutely,
over it with you and,
absolutely.
all right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will talk again on.
So that wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Did you think we were gonna be like?
Well,
something
you
different?
know, I'm in a room full of men. You never know.
Look like a bunch of angry white guys, old white guys.
Oh my guys, thank you guys.
Yeah.
So when you're just going over all that commercial stuff, where am I finding that in my paperwork that I have? Is it in here? or-
It's,
Quick, do
the different standards you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
'cause I
right
have
in
just
the
have the
ordinance.
review ordinances, right?
Oh, yeah, it's in the existing ordinance.
Which is that one right there, then, right?
No,
Town of Belgrade.
no, that isn't it.
Oh, Craig, he doesn't have the existing commercial one?
Well, I may, I got a bunch of stuff in here.
It was
It's,
pink.
It's got a pink cover usually.
yeah, this is a photocopy. Well, actually, I never got the pink copy.
I got a question.
Well, I see,
When the dispensary thing went up in North Belgrade, where Double D's is, right?
Right there.
Yeah.
Is
don't know anything
it-
about it?
Is that a similar
So,
operation?
they-
Is
I don't
this
know.
one here? Or the same, different?
I don't know, I know
So
anything
it makes
about
it-
it, other than
Okay.
what you told me.
Talking about the place
Well, I would've been able
where
to
people
follow.
were growing
Yeah.
stuff and
But I just didn't
the
know which
old,
one it was.
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So these are my two.
Yeah, how did they get licensed? Did they go through this process here? Huh?
Well,
you
this
mean
Article
there?
7.
Yeah, well, she had to go through it.
We don't even know
Okay.
what they're doing, Peter, other than
Yep.
you assume they're growing product there. That's the only person that's ever told me that. No, they've never talked to me. No, they've never been here. Ever.
So if they are doing some business,
I don't know what, okay, the pot is being smelt up there, okay? The smell of pot is there, okay?
okay,
That's the rumor, all right? Okay. So, so you're telling, I'm hearing that if that operation's going on like that, they never come to this board and wouldn't fill out an application at all.
correct.
Okay, so you're basically saying, I'm hearing also, technically, there's no pot operation going on up at the old Double D store. That's what you guys are saying.
Right.
All right, okay, I just wanna hear that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
fine.
that's true for any other operation that's not going on in Belgrade. In other words, we don't know what we don't know. Right? So
We haven't
if,
given out any any permits for any Miracle marijuana places.
Right, this is the first one we've reviewed.
Okay,
because the applicant decided to be forthcoming and consulted with Gary and then came to the board. If someone else was doing it and didn't consult with Gary or the town for any reason, we wouldn't have any reason to even know
that be illegal?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
It would be.
Depends.
But,
Well,
but I would
it
say
depends.
Yeah, exactly,
Huh?
right.
only
It
under
depends.
Yeah,
It'd be a home.
If the guy that owns
Right.
that building is growing his own
Right.
marijuana,
It's not illegal.
it's not a business.
might be illegal.
You
but
don't
it's not
know if the
business.
person there is a caregiver.
Huh?
You don't know if the person there is a caregiver like her.
Right.
We don't know if the person that's there, if they're even there, is the property owner growing it for his own personal use.
Which is
Remember- I
legal.
remember-
He wouldn't go to the planning board for. It's not a business.
Just like, I think if I understood Tanya correctly, that, her husband is a caregiver for her.
Sounds like it.
So
Yeah.
he never came to us to
He doesn't
do
have
anything
to.
for her.
He does it at home.
Right,
Exactly.
it's,
So you
as
see
far as this
what I'm
ordinance is
saying
concerned,
about-
that's a home business.
Right.
Well, what's going on, as I understand what's going, there's, if you go up and look at the building, there's two, meters up there, electrical meters. They were put on, additional, okay?
Okay.
And they're using a lot of, that's all I'll say for right now, okay?
I've never seen a car there. You've mentioned this to me a year ago, and I've never seen a vehicle in that
Oh,
parking
but
lot.
they come in at night, I've been
Okay.
told.
So,
And the place is vacant supposedly, right? It's all plowed up and there's tracks in the snow and also, of course, when
it
there's no
sounds
snow.
like maybe that's something the sheriff's department needs to go investigate.
Oh,
I mean, not me. I'm not
okay, all
gonna
right, I'm
stake, I'm not gonna
Right.
stake out the
Place
building.
I understand,
They
okay.
shovel out the doors and all that stuff, like you can see where they've been going in and out?
Not in the front, it's all supposed in the back. Yeah, so, all right, okay, I just asking some questions.
And they're good questions.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We don't have any more, applications to discuss tonight, so any other updates, Gary, from you and the town?
No, all right.
We have the warrant article, is that, you have
Right.
that, yeah, to discuss?
That looks good.
Yeah.
The other,
Jeremy, let's go.
I know it wasn't on the agenda, but were we gonna discuss at all the issue of the selectmen asking us to, look at a sign ordinance and where that fits into our priorities?
Paul Sard and Dennis.
Pardon me?
Paul Sard and Dennis, I believe they're gonna make a draft. And then I think I think it has to go for us first. So I think they'll notify me and I'll put it on the agenda whenever they have it ready.
Oh, okay, cause I was gonna ask about the same thing,
Right.
because, after I got your email, Nick, I thought, I went to, the website to look at the minutes from that select board meeting, cause I was just curious, how it went down, and I actually have it here, and the motion doesn't make any mention of, bringing it to the planning board, so well, let me read it to you. I can read the whole thing, it's only one paragraph long. Paul Lassard came in to discuss a sign ordinance in the new commercial development plan that was put forth by the planning board. Gary Mahler voiced his concerns with the plan as well, noting, God only knows what they told him, noting that the rules are the same for the entire town, but really should be different for different areas. It's unfortunately an incorrect statement, but that's okay. Paul offered to team up with Dennis Ketchel to rewrite the sign ordinance in order to make the ordinance more efficient for the town. They say the ordinance as it is written goes too far in some areas, but not far enough in others, as it would allow for 32 square foot signs in Belgrade Village. As it is written, Michael Barrett made a motion to allow Paul Lassard and Dennis Ketchel to rewrite the sign ordinance. Gary Mahler seconded, motion passed 4-1, somebody voted against it.
Does that say rewrite the sign ordinance, or did it meant
Yeah.
rewrite the standards, or?
Yeah, it says rewrite the sign ordinance.
Because we don't have one, so that's interesting.
Yeah, we don't have one, but.
So if-
I was wondering if he was asking rewrite what we have in our signs.
I mean, we know from our own experience that, minutes don't always, can't capture every nuance. And
What, if he drafts an ordinance, the planning board can certainly, they don't have to recommend that ordinance go to the voters. They can make, you can make changes to it.
Well, that's why I was wondering what was actually approved by the select board, because, I mean, I read this and I walked away from it that we're not gonna be involved at all. And, unless there's something in statute or otherwise that says, you know, ordinance have to come through the planning board, which I don't know that that's the case.
I don't know legally.
But that aside, I thought maybe this was just gonna be something that the select board was gonna approve and run with, and,
Approved to send to the voters, you mean?
yeah, and not us. But your sense, Nick, is otherwise.
That's what I've been told by Carrie, that they'll make a draft, they'll bring it to us.
Okay, so we should just wait and see then.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there may be some involvement with us, which would be, to a degree, good. My concern is priority, sense of priority. We have other things to be tackling, this year that didn't include rewriting or being much involved in any sign ordinance development.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, you know, what we've heard before from the select board was, you know, they didn't wanna be ordinanced to death. And they've made those announcements.
Yeah.
Based on the differences of opinion I saw between the board and Paul Lessard, this is gonna be a timely process. It's not gonna happen quickly,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of difference of opinions. What he believes we should have and what the planning board believes the people of Belgrade want.
Well, the other thing, I was just curious what other towns had, like Reedfield and a few other towns, you know, towns that have sort of a tourism basis to it. And their sign ordinances are very detailed.
Well, Augustus is
It-
ridiculous.
It's no small task,
No.
right, it's incredibly detailed, and you know, maybe they have something very simple in mind, I don't know, but,
Bring back Denny's bill.
well, yeah, right, but, I mean, one good thing is, you know, the onus is on them to do the heavy lifting in terms of drafting, not us, so that will help a little bit, but I share your concern, Peter, because, what if they come back with a draft in April, just as we're getting underway with a whole bunch of shoreline zoning applications? And plus, even though we have the commercial development review ordinance, you know, ready to go to the voters, and assuming nothing else goes astray, and that happens, and assuming it passes, it may not, but assuming it does, you know, there's some work still to implement that. It's not gonna be a seamless process. We need a new application form, we need a new checklist at a minimum.
We need to rewrite other ordinances too, that we already exist.
Right.
Right.
So, you know, we're kind of queued up, got shoreline zoning queued up next, which I assume will be no small task. I still haven't
Right.
looked at the new state guidelines, but, the advantage of having some say in them early on, though, is we can ensure that they don't just go off into the, ionosphere with this ordinance, and it's totally, you know, totally out of sync with the comprehensive plan and
Right.
other ordinances.
You know, talking about, you know, the workload here, like George is saying, I was thinking one way we could, one thing we consider is the shoreline zoning. Smithfield has already done it, okay? They did it a year ago.
Rewrite?
Yeah, and according to the new law,
New
okay?
guidelines.
Yeah, and they were about the same size as we are. We're in the same watershed. We could consider taking a look at theirs and maybe go with it.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, because, you know, they reinvented the wheel. So, you know, maybe we could, you know, benefit from it. And
One
save
thing
us, save ourselves a lot of time.
I know what
I
you're
would
saying.
suspect that ours is a little more
Detailed?
detailed, complicated. We've got some provisions in our ordinance, even if we didn't look at the state standards, where things in non-conformance areas just
A different,
conflict with each other, different paragraphs, and,
yeah.
you know, we could look at what they've got, but I suspect they've pretty much adopted the state guidelines, whatever, And our ordinance doesn't really do that, so to just mesh them like
You'd have to compare the two.
smoothly, yeah, but certainly it's not a bad idea to look
Yeah,
at it.
well, there might be particular, you know, things in the guidelines that they've already addressed that would provide us with some guidance.
Sure.
No, I could get a copy of all that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are you the mayor of Smithfield too? It's
Well,
close to North
He holds,
Belfast.
his office is in Smithfield.
Yeah, technically.
Anyway, I get a hold of that.
Okay, thanks, Pete, that'd be helpful.
Planning a coup.
Yeah. So, yeah, looking ahead, we've kind of charted a sense of priorities and tasks and ordinances to revise and to keep going with these things, so we can address issues that we have talked about and that have been identified by other groups. So we're trying to live up to that. So where this other sign ordinance comes in, I don't know how that will either interrupt or interfere with that.
I have to admit it, that, when I read the minutes, I was a little disappointed that the select board, didn't call us or invite us to a meeting to discuss this, because if there's gonna be a lot of criticism of an ordinance they've already reviewed, and we made changes based on that review, that they would have showed us the professional courtesy of having us there to hear the discussion and participate in the discussion. Because clearly there was some planning board bashing going on there, sounds like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
in between the lines.
Guarantee you.
And plus some misinformation,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I
it would
received
have been
no,
nice to get all the facts on the table all at the same time, rather than just, you know, one side.
no one like wrote to me and said, hey, I wanna come to the select board meeting to discuss this.
Yeah. No,
So I just did what
I
they did.
suppose I shouldn't be surprised, but.
Yeah. So, I would like to go to one where I know they're gonna be talking about it. So,
Thinking, Nick, is there any way you could get the planning board members on the list of, you know, when the meetings are coming up, or we get the minutes from the selectmen's
Yep.
meeting?
Copy, I think.
Could you get us on that? That might be helpful. That way we have a heads up as to what's gonna be discussed in the future, some of these meetings.
Yeah,
And then we get the minutes of the,
Minutes or the
Minutes
agenda?
or
Oh, the agenda.
agenda.
well, both. Why couldn't we get both from the selectmen?
Well,
Why
The
not?
minutes are all online, right?
Yeah, the
I
minutes
know,
are in line.
But you can get, I used to get them sent to me. You know, and matter of fact, I have them for a couple of months.
Do they even do that anymore, Nick?
Yeah, they do.
Send out the agenda to, you know, Mary Vogel used to have a very large distribution list. I know a lot of the businesses were on it.
As far as I know.
I know my wife was on it.
Anthony runs that, so as far as I know, it's not that big of a list.
Okay, they do it, but just different lists maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can talk to them, I'm sure they'd be fine adding you guys to it.
thank you.
When Mary left here, she left with a lot of her own stuff. Oh, that list was probably one of them.
Okay, so we're probably in the process
I
of
don't know.
redeveloping the list. Okay,
Maybe so.
yeah, get us on that.
Well, I mean, it was just different, because Mary was just this long-time employee of the
Right.
town and knew everybody and grew up here and everything else, and so I think, and I'm sure people requested to be on that list, you know, over the years.
Mhm.
I know, this once came up when I was buying coffee at the store, that Diane Oliver was, you know, she used to get it and
Right.
was lamenting that, you know, it's the only way she can figure out what's going on in town.
Anything else from that?
How's Mary doing over there? City,
Seems like it.
So in the paper, apparently Cheryl is giving up her seat on the select board, is coming back to be an employee.
20 hours per week,
20 hours per week?
but she's been out sick for several days, so
Yeah.
she hasn't been here this.
What's this now? I'm sorry, paper, what?
So in the newspaper, there was an article, I didn't read it, my parents told me, they said, hey, did you hear about the shakeup? I said, well, what shakeup? Yeah. So they said a person, select person is gonna be working at the town office. And I inquired and they said, yeah, Cheryl? So I put two and two together and thought it was probably
Okay, so there's gonna be another select person opening,
Sounds like it.
okay.
There's, I think there's more than one, isn't it?
More than one?
There's two.
Yes, another one's already taken
Huh?
out
Oh,
papers.
Mike's over?
Huh?
One's already taken out papers.
Two more took them out tonight.
I'm sorry, how many
And-
openings are in the select board?
I think-
Mike's position's up, open for grabs, and Cheryl's.
Cheryl's is a one-year term.
Cheryl got voted in for 2 years, and they're gonna have to replace her for 1 more year. to
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
finish.
she's filling Bruce
Bruce,
Board's.
Right,
Yep.
Oh, so Mike, the chairperson, his,
He's up for another, election.
okay, is he
he's
running
running, I
again?
take it he's
He's
running?
running, yeah.
Okay, all right.
But not unopposed.
Huh?
Not unopposed.
Okay.
Okay. Any other news that we need to be concerned about?
Were we gonna do anything with this, or just read
Oh.
it?
We should read it. Yeah, Rich, wanna just read it out loud, cause I've seen
Okay.
one thing before, when I stopped in.
It will say to proceed with the voting by secret ballot on the following question. Shall the town of Belgrade amend the commercial development review ordinance as proposed in the document entitled March 2016 amendments to the town of Belgrade Commercial Development Review Ordinance? Select persons, no. That's it.
So that would be the
Sounds
question,
reasonable and good to me.
I think so.
Yeah, as long as whatever draft is actually labeled March 2017.
Right, right.
16.
16?
Oh, it does say 16.
Well, that can't be right.
So can we make sure that,
Yeah.
we're appropriately
Yes.
identifying?
Well, that's understandable. I would have made that mistake.
Alright. So, anything else for tonight? No? In that case, let's call it a wrap.
Right on time, almost.
Not bad, 9:04. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sean? Said you're supposed to send her an email.
I mean, he doesn't have to come, we'd like to see him.